What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another Heart Over Height episode. Today, we're going to be starting a new series on this channel. We're going to be spinning this wheel here, and then the team that it lands on, we're just going to break down their roster and everything. And each episode will just be a new team that we'll be discussing and all that, breaking down rosters, discussing their expectations for the year, how far they can go up and down in the roster standings and all that. So if you do enjoy this content, do me a huge favor, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below on what you think of the first team in this video. So without further ado, let's get right on into this. So basically, this is a 30 episode series, and then from there we'll just go and continue with, of course, NBA news will be dropped and all that. I just want to give fans the individual chance. Like, let's say if you're a Jazz fan, and Lauri Markkanen just signed his extension, we break that all down and everything. But today's episode is just going to be whatever this spin wheel lands on. So let's get into this. Let's just see what we get for that very first one. So it is looks like the Atlanta Hawks. So the Atlanta Hawks, we're just going to break down the roster, talk about where they can go, how low they can fall and all that, as well as just my opinion on the roster itself. So let me go grab the depth chart and everything, and I'll be right back. All right, so I wanted to start off with where they were in this last season, being this, they were a play-in team that just was a little disappointing. We expect, time after time after time that because they had one run a few years back where Trae Young dominated in New York in the playoffs and all that. So the Atlanta Hawks then fell to a play-in team, didn't make the playoffs, and they just were a little disappointing. So then it brings the question of where can they go this next season. But before we break that down, let's take a look at their depth chart coming into the season. So, of course, their starting lineup as of right now is Trae Young at the point guard, shooting guard being Bogdan Bogdanovic. They have Ricochet, which was their number 1 overall pick, Jalen Johnson, who's a young and upcoming player, and Clint Capella, with guys like Kobe Buffkin, Dyson Daniels, Hunter, Larry Nance, and Okongwu coming off the bench. Now, solid roster, overall as far as young talent, but just not enough oomph and superstar talent on this roster, and talent that really fits together, if I'm being honest. The biggest question that you got to ask for developing, seeing where they're going to be and developing where they're going to land in the standings, is what's up with Trae Young, right? Obviously, you went ahead and you traded DeJounte Murray, thinking that maybe they just weren't a good fit together. Maybe Trae Young, being honestly by himself a little bit, is better for him and this roster, and he can elevate other players around him. So you think, okay, if he does so, cool. We then just grab guys that are just solid role players, i.e. they grab Larry Nance, and Dyson Daniels is going to be coming off their bench and everything like that. But if that doesn't work out, we're going to know really quick. And along with that, another thing about the Hawks is the trade deadline is going to be a very interesting time, because if they're around this play-in area, right, the 10th seed, for example, you're going to be competing with Brooklyn, who's probably going to be pretty bad since they traded Mikal Bridges, Toronto, who should be better, Charlotte, who theoretically is better, Washington, who's going to be bad, Detroit, who should be better, but we don't know how good exactly they'll be. So there's an opportunity for the Hawks to slide really far down. And in my personal opinion, I think that's better for them. Go tank for Cooper Flag. So what I mean by that is trade deadline, you have a fire sale. You have a superstar here in Trae Young that a lot of teams are going to want. The Lakers, for example, you might be able to go get an Austin Reeves in that kind of deal. Another young asset that is rising in the ranks and everything like that. As well as those picks that they're willing to offer that are down the road, years down the road, 2030 and everything like that. So you get, yes, you might be bad in developing for a few years, or you talk to San Antonio and you go get your picks back for DeJounte Murray, and then you're bad, and then you're getting a top-tier pick. Trae Young then plays with Victor Wembanyama. Bogdan Bogdanovic would be another valuable three-point sniper that a lot of teams would be interested in around the trade deadline. Clint Capella is another guy, a big man. The Pelicans are looking for a big man. A lot of teams could use center depth. So Capella would be interesting. The market right now for centers is very low, very limited. So Capella could drive a decent bargain. Now, I'm not saying it's like 2 first-round picks, but he might get you a first-round pick and someone who could just use a new, fresh face on a new roster. I'd be looking at like the Orlando Magic for someone like Clint Capella because I think that they could use a taller center than Wendell Carter. Another guy would be DeAndre Hunter. Everyone wants a defending wing, and he is a solid defending wing. He's not going to give you too much on the offensive end, but he's known for his defense. They got Larry Nance Jr. back in that deal for DeJounte. He could be a valuable vet for a championship contending team that's looking for a little bit of forward depth. And then, of course, you have your young pieces that are ready to flourish. Onyeka Okongwu has been waiting for his name to be called to go into that starting lineup. So you then go with a lineup of like Dyson Daniels, Kobe Buffkin, Ricochet, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. You're going to be bad. You go get a good pick in the draft. Like, you hopefully get Cooper Flagg. They should be a team looking for a possible fire sale because Trae Young, to me, is not the future. And I know that a lot of Hawks fans probably don't want to hear that because you traded Luka for him. Let's be honest, on draft night, you swap picks, and yeah, no one knew Luka was going to be who Luka is. And the first few years that they were both in the league, it looked like a pretty fair trade and all that. And to be honest, it probably is a pretty fair trade looking back on it. But of course, with how good Luka is and how much Trae Young kind of hurts them defensively, and they're not winning games versus the Mavs just made the finals. So it looks a lot worse on them that they traded Luka, who could be on this roster with somebody like DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovich, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella, that they probably would go pretty close to a championship run, especially in the East. The East has a lot of weaker teams. Now, I think they're very top-heavy for sure. You have, of course, Boston. You have got the Knicks over there, Philly. Cleveland is threatening and everything like that. So the East but the East has a lot of bad teams towards the bottom that you can kind of pick apart 4 times a year. So overall, the Hawks, right, where they could possibly go, being the 10th seed last year, depending on Ricochet and how he develops. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Yes, we all know Alexander Sarr did not want to play in Atlanta. So that derived them away from drafting him, of course. They went with the next best guy on their books, which was Ricochet. So then, how good is he going to be? He didn't really look great in Summer League, but we've seen that before where players don't look great in Summer League. They come out and they're playing a lot better. Lonzo Ball did not look really good in Summer League. He did not have too many good games, right? Zion had these amazing games, and look at him now. He's barely playing. So Ricochet, if he's legit right off the bat, yeah, maybe you keep Trae Young. But if he needs some time to develop, your entire roster needs some time to develop. Let's go back to their roster one more time and just look. Ricochet, Jalen Johnson's ready to pop. He could be most improved player candidate this year. Dyson Daniels, I think he's got a lot in the tank for them. Playing for Australia, just getting more reps and everything, just didn't really have the greatest opportunity there for the Pelicans because there were so many names ahead of him. You have Okongwu who's been ready. He's a little bit undersized, so maybe he's not your exact future, but maybe you can get him to flourish and then flip him. So as far as where they can go, I do think that they can slide a lot just because Detroit should be better. Now, is Detroit going to be better than Atlanta? We don't know. Trae Young does do really well typically in the regular season, especially with less. He will be able to flourish and score and everything like that, but you look at the Hawks, if they drop to 14, Wizards are going to be 15, the 15th seed in the West. Brooklyn will be competing for that too. So, but how high up can they go? And I think max would be like the 6th seed. I think they're more of like a play-in team, probably around the same spot that they're at now, just because these bottom teams are pretty bottom heavy on like how bad they are. Like the Wizards don't really have a whole lot going on for them as far outside of Alexander Sarr might be legit. You look at like Charlotte, LaMelo Ball's always injured. Toronto, like we don't know. I think Toronto is going to be the East team that takes one of the bigger jumps. But of course, I'll touch on that on their episode specifically. Detroit, though, I think they should be better. So Atlanta, I think they will slide down to like 13, 14, but they could go as high as like a 6 seed. That means that one of these other teams, whether it be like Philly not being in the play-in or Orlando falling to the play-in, Indiana falling to the play-in, one of those teams could be knocked out, and then it makes your run easy. It only takes one injury or one slip-up of one roster to where like they could be competing. Not for a championship, I don't think. They're kind of light years away from that, it feels like. But with Trae Young, who knows? Because Trae Young took a squad that is very similar to this roster that didn't have a secondary star, had Clint Capella and Bogdanovich on it, had DeAndre Hunter, and they competed and they beat the Knicks. So overall, the Hawks have something that in a video I posted previously, I had put them in the category of what are they doing? They traded DeJounte, but then they're not looking to really trade Trae Young yet. It's just question marks on, and I understand he's your star player, he's your number one option. You're going to want to get a fat haul back for him. The question is the market really going to give a huge haul for a guy that doesn't play defense really that well? I mean, let's be honest. So the Hawks got to figure out what they're doing. They're going to be a middle-of-the-pack team, in my opinion. They should slide, if they can, to tank for Cooper Flagg and go get that super athletic. And even if it's not Cooper Flagg, there's other names in this draft that could be valuable. So if you guys did enjoy this video, do me a huge favor. Smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, comment down below which team you'd like to hear next and what you think about Atlanta landing around possibly the 6th seed or as low as 14, in my opinion. So with that being said, it's been another Heart Over Height episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.